3, 2, 1, action. Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know why I have to say it like that once I push record, but I'm doing it anyway. We'll open up a little number and then we'll go right into some education. I'm going to learn you a thing or two. Here we go. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that opening number. That was, by the way, in case you're wondering, that was the cabaret style with a minor chord introduction, because the song is written in a minor, starts off in A minor. Most of you probably have the cabaret. For some reason you don't. It's just the same. The style that I played, cabaret, it comes up at a tempo of 192. So you can play take a lot of swing styles with the 192 around that tempo. And if it's too fast, then obviously adjust it to the tempo that works. But there's a lot of styles that have a very similar flavor to that. That style's technically, it's called cabaret. So when you hear the general introduction with a major chord, you know, it's got that introduction for cabaret, and it's really show-timey, if you will, for lack of better words. But it's also got a really nice swing and jazz kind of a feel to it, so it works really nicely. So with that said, if you lock your tempo, which, by the way, you do by pressing the 2 tempo buttons, and yes?
Looks like you have a question from Don Martino.
Don, you have a question?
Yeah, I have no video.
You have no video?
No.
I'm sorry, we could see you.
Okay. We'll try it again. Thank you.
All right. So if you put on, if you lock that tempo, and you want to use some styles that are similar, here are some styles that I would use. And again, whatever tempo works with this cabaret style with some of these others is going to be very similar. So if you go to the standard category, you have smooth foxtrot might work, believe it or not, the Dixielands, the Charlestons, the razzmatazz, jumpin' jazz is another one. I believe that's in the group too. Here's an example. Here's smooth foxtrot. They all work. I'm going to keep the tempo locked and put on the standards again, and then I'm going to try Charleston. Charleston is another one of those styles that works very nicely. And then you can interchange between the two. I'm going to go to Dixieland right in the middle of it. Now, as I'm playing, a lot of times when I'm playing and I want to experiment while I'm playing, what I'll do is I'll hit the no chord feature. So let the drummer play. And that's all you hear is the drummer. And then what I'll do is I'll switch rhythms while I'm doing that. And you'll notice sometimes it may not work. So I know this one's not going to work, so I'm going to push it intentionally. So I use Smooth Foxtrot. That worked. Notice the beat. Charleston. Notice how the beats are very similar. Dixieland. Razzmatazz. Notice the beats, the drummer. The drummer may change in the style, but it's all a very similar type of beat. Now watch this. This one's not going to work. I'm going to touch 16-beat standard. You see, that sounds really weird. So what's cool about what I'm showing you is if you ever have a song you're playing and you find a style that you like and a tempo that works for you, I can put this tempo at 180 or 170. It's good to just put on the no chord and go to styles you think may be very similar. Now, what I'm going to do here is switch to the page. And if you have the marquee and the Aria, Grand Marquis with the four screens rather, when you have the selection of styles up on the screen, your top, I think I want to say the top right corner, these list of styles will show up when you press it. You'll have a next page. So this function works the same. So right now I'm on Vegas Big Band. Let's try it. Okay, let's see. I said jumpin' jazz. Let's try that. Franken the count. Let's see what happens. And then you can jump into other songs. Let me go back to Jumpin' Jazz. All right, let me switch it to Vegas Big Band. Play a totally different song. Ooh, I love that drummer. Got Buddy Rich. Now I'm just using the fill-in. Well, I wasn't going to really talk about all that, but it kind of one thing led to another. So,
There's a question from Elizabeth Lyons.
okay, Elizabeth, and then I have a question for you folks. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
The cabaret is the rhythm?
The rhythm style is called cab Cabaret.
Okay. And
All
what
right.
if you don't have, I have the Performer, but I don't have Cabernet.
Not Cabernet, that's a drink.
I know, but
We know what you're thinking. We know what's on your mind. I actually, that's kind of why I went through some of that. I started with Cabaret just because I wanted to open up with a song for you. And then I wasn't really going to teach that stuff today. Just as I thought about it, I thought, well, I should share this, and that, and the other. Cabaret is the style that I used. And then what I said was, use your tempo lock. This is for the others, and then we'll get back to your question. Use your tempo lock if you want to switch to other style options, okay? Because then what will happen is once you have the tempo where you like it, because the tempos, if you notice, will change every time you change to a different rhythm. So what I did is I locked it. Now, in the case of I don't have a Cabaret, not all the models have Cabaret. Well, then what I did is I went to another group of styles. You heard about 4 or 5 of them, I think even 6 of them. So the question I have for you, did anybody catch on to what styles I mentioned? I'll kind of help you out here. On this model, I went to the standards category. Now, by the way, anytime a style is mentioned on a model, if we're teaching a class and someone says, I'm using this rhythm style with that and this style for that and et cetera, if you're not sure if that style exists, you have a couple of ways of looking for those. Some of you have a feature. Actually, the manual is probably the first way because it has a chart of all the rhythms. But that gets a little hard to do when you're scrolling through a chart. The other way, which I think is still kind of hard, is you push the buttons and you scroll through all the variations. The way I think is the easiest is virtually almost every organ with a touch screen from the year 2007, 8, up until now, has an option, actually even this, I think the Stardust even had it too when it came out in 2004, and maybe even the Grand Royale. If you have a button on your screen that says Style List, you can touch it and scroll through, and it lists all the styles alphabetically for you. And then you can select that style, and then it'll tell you where it's at in the panel. Now, I know where the styles are. What's that?
it will. It'll tell you which rhythm to press.
Well, it tells you the name of the styles you have on the organ. So, for example, here's the option that I mentioned for Cabaret. One of the Cabaret styles, or one of the optional styles I use. What was the first one I said?
Swing.
Well, let me see. I pull it up on the screen. Oh, I said Frank and the Count, Jumpin' Jazz. I said there's also one called
Smooth
Dixieland, Charleston, Smooth Foxtrot. There's all these styles. So let's say, for example, Dixieland. And I go, Dixieland's a great alternative for that style. And you go to yourself, where is Dixieland? Well, I'm going to hit Style List. And I'm going to scroll through alphabetically, and it gives me all the rhythm styles that your organ has in that instrument. So every organ has 150 styles, 200, 300, whatever the case is. Whatever you have is found in this alphabetical list. So I'm going to go to Dixieland. Most of you have Dixieland. And I'm going to touch it. And when I press it, it shows up on the screen where it is. It's kind of just a way to, because you could do it this way, but it's going to activate it. If you touch, let's say in here, Duke's Blues, or Electricity, or Easy Waltz. Now that one, a lot of people know where that's at. Frank and the Count, for example, is another one I mentioned. I don't know where Frank and the Count is, because it's in a different place on each of the models. I touch it, and it'll light up on the screen, and it'll tell me, and then you can look in their variations, if there's a variation, and so forth. So the style options that I used for the, first of all, what were the songs that I did? Does anybody know what songs I did? The first one?
Putting on the Ritz.
Put it on the Ritz. If you get these answers right, Joni's going to give you a virtual lollipop.
Whoa,
She's going to send it right across the Zoom.
just what I want.
Okay, so Putting on the Ritz was the first one, which, by the way, if you see the music and the way I play it, I don't play it exactly the way it's supposed to, but I do it my way. But people know what song it is. The second one I did anybody catch on to that? I'll give you a hint. What do people do when they open their mouth along with the band? What are they doing?
Singing.
Okay,
Singing.
exactly. So the
Sing.
second song I played was
Sing.
Sing,
What?
sing,
Sing.
Sing, Sing. Okay, so if I get you to say it 3 times, then you got it. Sing, sing, sing. And the third one, some people get and some people don't, if I played it right. Does anybody know what the third song was? I'll give you a hint. Disney movie. I'll give you a hint. Mowgli.
Hmm.
Anybody know what movie that was? The animated movie? They've done a
Jungle
remake.
Book.
What was it?
Jungle Book.
Jungle Book. Remember the orangutan? Was it the orangutan? The big monkey thing where they try to take the kid? And I believe the singer that did the original one was
Louis Prima.
yes. I Want to Be Like You, I think is the name of the song, right?
It was
Ooh,
Louis
wanna
Prima
talk
and
like-
Phil Harris.
What is it?
It's I Want to Be Like You by Louis Prima, and Phil Harris is the guy who does the name Baloo, the bear.
Oh, hope you're writing that down. That's
like
going
that
to be worth millions someday, that piece of information. So the 3 songs that I did was, I almost forgot what I did. Putting on the Ritz. Put it on the Ritz. Sing, 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 and I Want to Be Like You. And
Robert?
the style that I used was cabaret. And then I went and I used alternate styles. I tried it with Franken Accountant, it worked. I did it with Jumpin' Jazz, and it worked. I did it with Dixieland, and it worked. I did it with Razzmatazz, and it worked. I did it with Charleston, and it worked. I did it with, I think that's all of them. I might have missed one. Oh, Smooth Foxtrot. So what's the point of all this? If you can find a handful of styles that works, what you can do is pick a style, lock the tempo, so that when you switch to that style, you can continue on with it. Here's a little trick for you. It's easier to do it, it's easiest, should I say, to do it when it's in the same group of styles. So for example, on the model I'm on a button called Standards, and I'm looking at the screen here and I see Smooth Foxtrot, Charleston, Dixieland, Razzmatazz. Those 4 styles happens to work for me, okay? And I have it listed on the screen there, so while I'm playing, now if I want to switch to another style, I can just do it, but keep in mind, my tempo's locked, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, typically, your tempo won't move anyway while you're playing, but sometimes it's a little better to lock it, because if you happen to stop it and switch to another rhythm, it'll reset. And here's the other thing that I like to do sometimes when I'm doing this, is I like to do the no chord. That way, if I go to another style and it doesn't work, I can always go back. If you do it and you have the band going and you switch with a chord, sometimes it gets a little goofy.
Robert,
Yes.
I did have a question from a customer recently that wanted to understand style suites a little bit better.
Okay.
That's my question.
Whose question?
My question, Paul.
Paul?
Yes, I have a marquee.
You're not allowed to give me hard questions.
It has style suite on it. I don't
Okay,
know.
hold that thought, and I'll get back to that in a moment, and then I'll finish this up and head to that, because that'll tie into kind of what we're doing. So, so as you're playing, if you have a style that you like and you're on a page, and if you know there's a few styles that works, it's kind of fun to do, because you can go from one style to the other and give your song a little different personality. Now watch. I'm on Smooth Fokker. Now switch to Charleston. I don't want to switch now because I found something I really like. But you notice the beat, it still kind of works for that song. Okay? Now, Style Suite. Sean, do you have the owner's manual handy? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Style Suite. Is that on the marquee as well?
Marquee, yes.
Okay.
That
So
one's a
in
little
the
harder to
marquee, now there's a little trick with the manuals, and I taught this last month. If you ever have a manual, there's a hard manual, the paperback, but if you happen to have the PDF of it, the owner's manual allows you to click on things to
Yeah,
get
I
to
can
certain
show you too
pages.
on here as I find it.
All right.
I shared the wrong thing.
Oops.
Back to it.
Can't see him.
Oh, it went away.
He had it up and he took it away. He was teasing you. You know,
For some
Sean.
reason it wasn't showing on my screen, so there we
Okay.
go.
All right.
So this is like the, table of contents, and you can either click things in here, or
So
you
if I
can-
want to find Style Suites,
All right, here we go. Style suites. Boom.
you can click there. By the way, PDFs have the option of searching too. We don't have to show it now, but you can type in something, and what will happen is it'll pull up the words on that. So I encourage you, if you happen to have a PDF of these manuals, it's good to have. So here's Style Suites. Now, Style Suites is pretty cool because if you have this option, being that this is the Marquee, Grand Marquee and Ari, and obviously this is the Marquee, so this applies to all. What it is a Style Suites gives you, well, if you look on the screen there, has anyone ever had a Liberty, Patriot,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sterling, Prestige, Performer, Stardust, all those models for many years, the panel was always the same over the years. And what Lowry did is they simply added styles to a group. So if you had a big band category, they added more rhythms to that big band category through the variations. And what happened was, as time went on and they started adding more styles and more styles to the instruments, they realized they had to redo the panel because, for example, Slumdoggy is an example I use all the time. If you go on an organ that has Slumdoggy and the Sterling or Patriot or something like that, it's found under the March polka button. That style has nothing to do with marches or polkas. And so what they were doing is they were forcing rhythm styles in categories just because that was the only place they could do it. So when they introduced the E-Series, they redid the panel, and a lot of them are in the same place. Don't get me wrong, like country styles happen to be in the country button, but standards now has, the jumping jazz and styles like that. Now this page in the Marquee manual is page 80, or is it 67 it says, or 87? 67. It may be a little slightly different on the Inspire and the Rialto, but if you look on that, if you look on the style chart here, the Style Suite option was when a lot of people went from those previous models to the newer EX technology, we knew there was going to be some people that said, I like my Franken account. Where is it now? Well, I know where it's at because it's in the standard. I use it a lot. Or I like my such and such, the Unforgotten. Where is it now? Well, you can do it by the way I said. You can go to the style list, scroll through, and it'll tell you. Or what this does, it gives you a very similar panel, the buttons that were before. And then some. You'll notice, if you're looking on the screen there, they give you styles that you can search for by genre, or even some cases decade. You see his little mouse there. Ooh, look at, he's putting squares there. That's Sean's finger. He took a picture of his hand.
That's exactly what it looks like.
He needs a little sun. But you see, you see there, it says 70s, where he put the little square. You'll see on there, it says 50s to
Have you done any
60s.
writing?
So,
I need to see your work. Bring your assignment and your page and your work.
okay. And so what you'll notice is, like, if I want to play music, let's say I want to play songs like Blueberry Hill, Can't Help Falling in Love, Unchained Melody, those types of songs, those might be the 50s to 60s. So if you press 50s to 60s, then what will happen is it'll give you a list of styles. If you look at the bottom screen there, that it'll give you a list of styles that coincide with that category. Paul, did that kind of answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. So there you have it. That's what Style Suites is. Now, some of you have a Style Favorites button too. That's just simply you touch on the screen, and what'll happen is, now you can't see from here, but what'll happen is you get, in this case, 8 buttons. The Marquee, I believe, gives you 10. And I believe the Aria gives you, I want to say 16. Don't quote me on that number. And you can select up to a certain number of your favorite styles on those instruments. And it works very easily. You just touch it and you scroll, and whatever one that you want in there will remain there. And then whenever you're ready next time, you can go back and do that. All right? So that's a little bit on, that is kind of interesting because I wasn't really going to go into that, but I had so much fun with that song, I thought I'd take that a little further. So, you all have ways of finding rhythm styles. You have the favorites that you can go to and put in your favorites. You can do it the way everybody can do it. There's the favorites. That one has, this is the Marquee, so it has 10. So you just simply press, in that case, Circle of Lions. And then if you want to change it, you press it and you scroll through. And then what it'll do is when you get to the one you like, you just leave it there and that's it. It's automatically saved. The other way is just going the way that a lot of us do it. You just go to the panel off to the left here, where all of the organs have the rhythms in blue buttons, commonly known as a rhythm and blues, and you just pick one. And if you have a variation button, you push a variation, or if you have 2 variations, you do that. In a lot of the models, you press it and all of the styles show up, and then you just go through. A lot of you have a next page, so you can do that as well. Or you can do it the other way, like I'm saying. I said jumping jazz is a great style. And so I don't know where that's at. So I just touch Style List, go up to J or whatever style you're looking for. There it is, jumping jazz, and I touch it, and it shows me on the screen. Okay? So that is a little bit on, wow, it's amazing. I did all of that just by playing one song. And I didn't even get to teach what I wanted to teach yet. So I'm going to go on to the next topic here. And this is a topic that the EX, EY models have that some people, you probably see this button, but every time I ask somebody, do you ever use this feature? You'd be surprised, 9 out of 10 answers the same way, either no or I don't know what it does. And then you have that 1 out of, so many people that really understand it. But it is a clever button to use on the E-Series models, okay? So what I'm going to do is just clear off the instrument, put it in its home position, make sure my volume's, remember where my volume is. And any Lowry organ that we turn on, when you first power it on, it comes up to what we call the Sweet Lowry organ sound. Now this applies to every model, and Sean and Joni can correct me, every model that I know of, probably even since the late 80s and what they call the Genius Series models, except the Easy Series and the Journey and Fanfare. Does that sound about right, Joni? Other than that, all of the other models, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me, so that way I give good information, but I'm almost certain I'm correct on this. Every model that you turn on, when you first power it on, the Lowry used to call it or they've called it the Sweet Lowry organ sound. All it means is it gives you a 16 and a 4-foot flute, and this is that sound. And then you can go and do all your changes from there. Now, so that's coming from the flute tabs here. Now, on the flute tabs, you have, depending on the instrument you have, some of you have 16, 8, 5 and a third, 4, 2 in this case. Some of you have some other ones and up to a 1-foot flute. And the more you have, the more flexibility you have in creating organ sounds. Now, here's a little trick for you. If you want to create an organ sound to use and you're not sure what to do, the best way to experiment is start off with 16-foot flute, leave that on, and then move them around however you want, and you can never get a bad organ sound. Start off with 16-foot flute, leave that on, and then anything else any combination you touch is going to more than likely give you a decent organ sound. I'll prove it. Here's just a 16 by itself. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is just randomly hit some tabs. And then someone tell me to stop. I can't hear you.
Stop.
Okay. Now whatever I just did, I left 16 on and I moved around randomly. Who said stop, by the way?
I did, Paul.
Paul. If this doesn't sound good, this is on you.
You got it.
No matter what you do, you may have a preference on which one you like better. It almost never fails as long as you have the 16, because the 16, these flutes, and think in terms of like the pipe sizes. If you've seen a church organ or an organ with an organ stop pizza in Mesa, they have that. I think they still have it there. They have all these pipes. That pipe is giving you the deepest tone. And then any other combination gives you a nice little combination. So what's really neat about organ sounds is you never fail with an organ sound. If you're ever practicing, rehearsing, believe it or not, a lot of songs that I practice for the first time, if I'm learning a new song, and you ever have that song? Probably none of you. I mean, you guys all have marquees and performers and Stardust, and you guys are at the point where you don't make as many mistakes as I may have when I'm learning a new song. Now, I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but there's some truth to that, and I'll tell you why. Most students play songs, with the use of music. There's a handful that play by ear, and then there's people like me. I use easy play music, and I learn a song, and I play it enough till I can memorize it so I don't have to rely on the music. But if you gave me a song like Tico Tico, song that I normally don't play, and I'm learning it, I'm working at that with a lot of blemishes, if you will, a lot of oops. And a lot of times when I rehearse a song, I use 2 sounds to do it, organ or strings. And here's why. When you're playing a song, if you make a mistake, okay, you can kind of hear that there. Watch what happens if I put on a piano and make the same mistake. Let me put on the piano. It's like really stands out. So I kind of like choosing an organ sound. Sometimes just strings or strings and organ. And you may notice the oops, but it's not as bad. And I'll use that sound. There's nothing worse when you're using sounds like pianos and vibraphones, especially accordions and guitars, and you're learning a new song, and you're kind of fumbling around. It makes it sound a lot more worse than it really is. And that's why I always like to use organ sounds. But the reason why a lot of students sometimes have an easier time with this is because, turning my fan towards me here, is because you, over the years, over the months or years, you learn to play with music. I don't. So if I had a song like Tico Tico, I might work on it for a while with a lot of notes that aren't supposed to be the way I want it. So a lot of times I like those organ sounds. However, for many years, this is kind of a neat little trick here. For many years, the Lowry models always, I'm going to use the word force you, for lack of better words, to use the organ sound, if you choose to use it, on the upper keyboard. Okay? It was the only place you can do it. So if you have your 16/8/4/2s, in this case we have a couple combinations, we have a pipe, jazz, whatever. In years past, if you ever wanted to use some organ sounds, you were forced to use it up here. But what if I wanted to play a song with an organ sound and a piano? In this case, I mentioned a piano. Well, in the years past, you would have to put the organ here and the piano here, which I guess would work out. So what I'm going to do is just leave it on that organ setting. So I'm going to turn off the rhythm preset or the style setup button. So I have just the factory sound. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is select the style, and we'll do something like, well, let's see here. We'll do tap soft shoe. All right, so it sounds something like this. All right, and I'm going to turn off the Orca Plus so you could just hear the rhythm simply. All right, and then I have the organ sound, and I want to do it up here. Now I want a piano as well, so I'm going to reach up and hit my piano. In the years past, what you'd have to do, if I want one keyboard to have organ and one to have the piano, I could put the piano up here, but I don't want it to. I want them to be two separate sounds, so I put it on the lower right. But then the question is what if I want to add other sounds to the piano? I'd have to force myself to put them down here, and I'm limited in the keyboard down here. But if the piano is the main sound I want to use, and I wanted to put it on the upper keyboard, here's what I would do. And this is just a simple, easy-to-use button on the E-Series that you have it. So what I'm going to do is take the piano and put it on the upper keyboard. But you'll notice there's an organ sound there. I also want strings with that piano. No, maybe not. I want just a piano. Okay. Now I want that organ sound to go on here. There's a button right here. It just says simply upper tabs to lower right. So you now have the option of taking the organ sounds, or these tabs, should I say, not just the organ sounds. It's the button says upper tabs, and these are, it says right here, upper tabs, upper. All of these are the upper tabs, and any sound that you have here will go in the lower right now. So let me turn off the piano. So there's no piano. All we have is the organ. And I'm going to push upper tabs to the lower right. Now watch what happens. Now watch what happens on the upper keyboard here. It's still there, isn't it? Okay? Pay very close attention. So I have the upper tabs to the lower right. I also have those same sounds here. Just like your orchestral and your solos, you have the option of putting it on the upper or lower or both. But in this case, what I wanted to do is take my upper tabs and put them down here and leave the top keyboard for my other stuff. And I'm just going to go in the middle. There's a button that says, or tab says upper tabs. So now, doesn't that sound wonderful? Can you hear that? Oh, you better check your sound on your Zoom. Oh, no, that's me. It's not you. So if you touch the upper tabs off, anything in this section is now off, but I have the upper tabs to the lower right. It's here. Pay very close attention. Watch this. I have the strings on. This is in the upper tabs. It's now down here. Let's go a little step further here. Anything in the upper tabs can go here. So you have the flexibility of putting whatever you want down here from here. It could be organ sounds. It could be strings only. It could be strings with whatever sound is in the upper. This upper sound gives you the same access to all of the list of sounds that are in the organ as you have here. So it just happens to be, let me turn off the strings. It just so happens when I press it, it says jazz guitar. There's nothing here because the upper tabs is off. Now if I turn upper tabs on, these tabs are on. They're now in both places. The point I'm making here is you have a lot more flexibility of combining sounds than you really realize, because some people, I can't tell you how many times people said they've noticed this button, but they've never touched it because they didn't know what it did. It's all it does is what it says. It takes the sounds from here and puts them here. So if I have jazz guitar and we'll put on strings, and I have upper tabs to the lower right, and I'm going to turn it off here. Upper tabs is off, so that means this isn't on the upper keyboard, and it's down here. And now I can put on my piano, and now my upper tabs are here. So I can do something like this. Or maybe I want to go back to I'm going to turn off that. I'm going to turn off the string on here, and I'm going to put on some organ sounds now. Okay, I need you to tell me when to stop. I'm going to start with 16, and I'm going to just randomly push buttons. Here we go. Tell me to stop.
Stop.
Okay. Who said stop?
I did.
Who's I?
Joni.
Joni. You said that, I could tell. You said that with such conviction. She had that motherly, like telling their kids, stop,
And
or you're going to get it.
And you can push the oops button too if you want.
Oh, yeah. The oops is you, isn't it?
Oops.
Did you guys know that? Side fact. And you can fact check this. If you have the oops button on your instrument, that's Joni saying oops. No joke. You worked for Lowry when they did that, right?
Correct.
So they own it. They didn't pay you royalties for that?
No,
Yeah.
we recorded that about 5 years before the marquee ever came out,
Oh, my goodness.
and they held on to the feature till it was time.
Yeah, so one day she said, oops, and then they captured it. I'm sure it was more than that. You actually went in. How many times did you have to rehearse for that?
Twice. That was it. We
That was
did it
it.
twice. That was it. We
They
did
probably
it
kept the
twice and it
first
was
take
done.
because that was the actual oops, and the second one sounded too rehearsed. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, if you have a sound effect here, you can put on the sound effects side. Yes, it's a side. That's an actual fact. You can you can go through and find. I don't know. Is it on the Rialto, or I know it's on the Marquee? No.
I don't believe it's on the Rialto.
Oops. Oops. Okay.
It is.
You can do that. You go
Is it?
oops. Well, you can
It's-
check on that. That was in there. Okay. Anyway, that'll be that's your homework. Go
You
find
gotta
out.
have you gotta have the Philadelphia oops.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
the accent.
I don't know if I can do that. I might sound like I'm from Jersey, because I am from Jersey. So the cool thing about this is what we did is she had me stop on 16/4, which is a nice, great sound. So here we go. And then I can add whatever I want to it, some strings. The point of all of this is you're not restricted of putting sounds on the upper or the lower right, as we may have been on some of the models in the past. Now, if you don't have, because a lot of folks attend the EX workshops that don't have these instruments, keep in mind that if you have a touchscreen model, you have 2 orchestrals and 2 solos that you still have the options of manipulating on the upper and the right, lower right keyboard. Okay? So, any questions? Any questions whatsoever? Hopefully I taught you something that you didn't realize you had today. That's why I always teach 2 different topics, because I figure I'll cover something for both, for everybody. If you walk out of here with one thing. Any questions? Raise your hands. Anybody want to try to do Joni's oops with the Philadelphia accent? Hi, Glitzy.
Hey,
I have to say hi to Glitzy. She's been trying to change her name on this. It kept coming up as her
I
husband's
have to
name.
do it every time.
And I said, gosh, she looks a lot prettier for a John than a John. Or was it John? What was it?
Leonard.
Leonard. And it was kind of confusing me there for a little bit.
It is.
Yes, you do have to do it.
Confuses me too.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions before what I'm gonna do is I'll give you a couple announcements.
You have a question from Judy Tyson?
Judy, you're only allowed to ask if it's an easy question. Go ahead, Judy. Go ahead, Judy.
Okay, it's a pretty easy question, I think. I would like to know how to get the manual in PDF form,
Which manual is it that you need?
marquee.
Just email me and I'll reply with a copy.
Okay, thank you.
I happen to have a copy of it, so if you just
Thank you.
send me an email, just please send me a marquee manual and I'll just give it to you.
Now, I have the manual, I just would like to have it PDF form.
Yeah, and some of they only came with new, but if you happen to have gotten the marquee USB stick, sometimes they have it on there as well.
I don't think I got that.
That's the one that has like 50 songs, and they used to put the manual on them as
Yeah,
well.
I didn't get that.
I have requested from Annette at the office. I asked her when she can get a chance to doing it. She's going to give me a copy of most manuals, and then that way, if I ever run into this, we can email it to you. But I can't remember what it is. I want to say manuals from the Sterling, Patriot, Liberty. I believe those manuals and the E series that are on the stick or in a PDF has the ability to do what we mentioned earlier. Don't quote me on that because I haven't fooled with all the manuals. Okay? All right. Any other questions? All right. What I'm going to do is give a couple little announcements, and then I'll play a song demonstrating some of what we did today. And it's going to be a little tricky because I'm going to use a whole different category of music, and then I'll also use the features of the sounds from the keyboard here, the tabs, and I'll put it in the lower right, and then kind of use it that way. So I'll do a little bit of what I told you in the beginning is I'm going to take a style that I think, a few styles for whatever song I'm going to play, and then I'll set it up with a sound from here and put it down here, and then choose something up here. So we'll kind of do a little bit of that. Before we adjourn, I got to tell you a couple things, fun things that's happening this week. This afternoon, you will see an email. Our Zoom musical this afternoon, not this afternoon, this Friday is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be Jerome Johnson, who some of you heard, and myself. We've got a totally different doubleheader act that we're doing this Friday. And it's going to be really cool because we're not going to, all I can tell you is it's not going to be like your typical performance where he plays a song, I play a song. We got a couple little things we're going to do slightly different, all right? And so you'll hear some wonderful music, and we'll play something together. We got a couple other little tricks up our sleeve, and I've got a little something fun that I want to do, and I'll leave it at that because if I tell you much more, then you'll know. But you'll see an email reminder about that probably early evening, depending on where you're at, what time zone, late afternoon. Also, as you know, we've been saying this for a while now, but our website is active, and it's still in the progress of some tweaks and what have you. However, I do want to let you know, get in the habit of using it throughout over the next 3 or 4 weeks as I send out, like today, the email I sent out said you can join with Zoom here, or you can go to our website and that link will bring you right to where those calendars are. Just get in the habit of doing that because as we move forward, all of the classes that we're going to do are going to be posted on the website. And what I want to do is just show you a couple things that you're going to want to know. Peggy's iPad. I see you on the screen. Can you see the web page here? Okay, I just want to make sure you're all seeing what I'm seeing. So, Peggy, did you recognize that guy in the beginning? That's actually Mr. Ruckles. I can never say his last name. Ruckelhausen. He's a student from your store. There he is. I think he gave Todd permission to use that a long time ago, so I hope we still have his permission. There's Jim Weta, and I think Joni's in this set of pictures there. There she is. That's when she said, oops, I hit the wrong note. No, just kidding, Joni. All right. So on the main web page, you have upcoming classes, events. It says view schedule, so you can do that, and it'll bring you here. You can also go to this tab here. This is classes, events, and it'll have the variety class schedule along with anything else. You can see when you open it, it gives you expands and it tells you what's happening, what models are being featured in that product class. The Wednesday class is here. The Thursday class is here. And then if you want strictly the product feature class schedule, same thing. So what's here on the 8th is the same as, like for example, today is the 1st. And there it is. And then coming very soon, this schedule is going to be filled with events. What I will tell you is during this week, we're going to have what's called Member Appreciation Days. And we have some events that you'll have never have seen or hear at Fletcher Music Center since we started all of this. So you'll just want to check it from time to time. Now, we're in the process, get this is cool. Each store has their own calendar. So if you go to the locations here, you have three options. You can click all locations, and it gives you all the locations. And if you click one, it'll pull up a calendar. Or maybe you want to just check out your local store and you live in Arizona. And you go, well, what's going on in Mesa? You just click on it and it'll pull up there. There's a couple ways to get to there. Hopefully by the end of the week, all the stores that have their individual stuff, if you will, for their students will be on here as well. And anytime it has a little dot, you'll be able to see it. And it'll also tell you here what's coming up within the 7-day period. Now, right now, if you go today, none of it's up there because the stores I have to show them how to transfer that information. So you're going to have multiple ways. And then the question is what if I'm a student from Port Charlotte and I want to see Sean's whatever class that he's doing. Anybody can join. Okay? And I encourage you to tell your friends. Anybody can go to the website and you can, I would get in the habit of doing that because over time, you're going to see all the events up there. What I'm going to do this month, especially over the next 4 to 6 weeks, is I'm going to be very diligent in feeding you information, both the website and the emails. But what I like to do is get to the point where I don't have to send you an email every single day, and you get, sometimes you get 2 or 3 a day, I'm sure, because of the different things. And I like to give you like maybe one for the week or a special announcement or something like that. So get in the habit of doing that. Hopefully it'll make it easier. We have some people, sometimes the email doesn't come through. It goes through their spam or their junk, or for whatever reason, we have to resubscribe them or whatever the case is. Some people accidentally unsubscribe. We don't find out 3 weeks later, and we have to go. If you go to the website, it doesn't matter. You can just click on and join right from there. So our whole goal here, and then over time, we'll improve the website to do other things. Maybe get to the point where we post the materials you can download, etc. There's many things we can do with it. So I wanted to give you a little information on that. This week, Jerome is going to be the featured artist with me on Zoom Musical. And we have a little special treat for you for the weekly classes, product feature classes as always. So with that said, I'm going to finish up with the closing number. And I'm going to use the features that I just taught today, and I'll tell you what I'm doing as I'm doing it, because I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So let's take a look at, how about, let's see what's in here. Ooh. I never do this. I'm going to do it. This looks like a category that might work. I push, in this case, traditional, and it has happy polka, Bavarian polka, obladi polka, accordions. They're all polka styles. And I'll start off with obladi polka. Does anybody know what obladi polka is? You ever heard of the Beatles? Most people don't associate polkas with the Beatles, but that's what made them very clever. They did a lot of songs that sometimes people didn't catch on to, that what they were listening to. Like when I heard this style come out, it was designed to be a polka style, but most people never heard it as a polka. They heard it as obladi, oblada. And it's actually, now what I'll do is I'll use that style, and I'll set up a setup that I'm going to tell you in a minute. And then as I'm playing, I'll play obladi, oblada, and then I'll go into a polka song. And then while I'm playing that, I'm going to go to another polka style. And the reason is because I don't actually know polka all the way through, but I know like 3 or 4 of them. So together they make one song. All right, so we'll have a little fun with that. So I'll start off with obladi polka, and let's put on just a nice 16, 8/4 flute with some strings here, and I'll turn down the strings a little bit. All right, we'll leave it there. And then on the upper keyboard, let's see here. How about, I'll put on a piano. And what's in here? Oh, a clarinet. We'll keep it there. I'll keep it on the piano. And actually, I'll start off with a clarinet. Who knows what I'm going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. We're going to whistle. Okay, I have bells and whistles and pianos. I'll use whatever's there on the top keyboard. I'll start with the... All right, and then I'm going to start off with the obladi polka. I'll do a little bit of obladi, oblada, and I'll play whatever else, and you can see what songs I play. Here we go. Let's try a different polka. Here we go. Okay, now I'm going to switch to a totally different polka style. See what happens. All right, here we're gonna. I saw one here that says can. Let's see what happens. Accordions. All right. Thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed the class today. I had fun doing it. I hope you learned something. And then we had, just to give you a little sneak peek, next month or 4 weeks from now or whatever, keep your eye out. Sean is going to, we had a request to discuss, I think, something with the MP and the USB. So Sean's going to teach you a little bit about that the next time we have this particular class, which will be about 4 weeks from now or whatever. Just keep an eye out in the calendar, go to the website and check it out. So with that said, I want to say thank you for joining me today. Hope you learned something. Hope you had a great time. Stay safe, keep playing music, and mwah.
Bye-bye, Robert. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us.